Good morning. Today I will be reading from the fifth book in the Left Behind series. It is called Apollyon, and I'm going to be reading chapter 12 today. And I'll begin to read now. Jerusalem Tower, this is Gulfstream Alpha Tango over. Tower, go ahead. Alpha Tango. Initiate landing sequence. Rayford plugged in the coordinates and put down in the busier than usual airstrip. To appear as casual as possible, he asked about it. The tower informed him that the wealthier commuters from the big meeting at Kolak Stadium were flying small craft to Tel Aviv for their international flights home. Any delay on a refuel? Negative, Alpha. You're clear. See the choppers? Ray said as he lined up his approach. I see one, Ken said. White with black block letters on the side. Don't kid me. I'm not. It's GC, all right, but there's only one. I don't like it, Ken. Why hasn't Matt called if there's a glitch? Rayford shook his head. I don't want to call him. He may not be where he can talk. But he might not know one of his birds is gone. Ever think of that? Rayford punched in Mac's number. McCollum. Mac, it's me. What's going on? Yes. Hello, Sergeant Fitzgerald. Of course you may proceed. We're good to go? No need to wait, Sergeant. That's affirmative. All my eggs are in your basket, Mac. You're welcome, Sergeant. Goodbye. Take your phone, Ken, Rayford shouted over the scream of the engines as Ritz opened the door. Ken smacked himself in the head and grabbed the phone out of his bag. Another mature moment, he said. Don't leave me out there hitchhiking now. Don't worry, Rayford wished he had a rearview mirror on the side of the plane so he would know when Ken got to the chopper. Chaim Rosenzweig had never looked older to Buck. He was tired, of course. It was late, but his wispy white hair, independent of control, haloed a grayish, drawn face. Buck, Tyson, and Chloe had quickly revealed to him conversations Rayford had overheard on the Condor. Chaim appeared unable to speak after hearing that his request for Tyson's safety following his first TV broadcast had been laughed at. You realize, Chloe said, that you are the first outside person who knows about the bugging device on that plane. We're putting lives in your... Rosenzweig waved her off sadly. To think that Nikolai himself would say one thing and do another, looking me in the eyes, he did, and lying. He could have prevented the slaughter of your family. Tyson. Oh God, oh God, oh God, how could I have been so blind? I know you tried to tell me. Doctor, Tyson said quickly, you and I will continue our discussion by phone or email or in person, God willing, but we must leave now. Our sources tell us that the GC is planning a terrorist attack at the Temple Mount tomorrow, and we want to be long gone by then. Of course, James said, I understand. I will have you driven to. It's all arranged, Buck said. We need to be on the roof in 10 minutes. Of course, go. I will cover for you. Don't worry about me. Chloe went to change, and Buck told Chaim the disposition of the key. Break it down, he said wearily. Tools are in the utility room. Buck. Buck, Chloe cried as she moved toward the door. You're on TV. Turn it up. Community forces believe videotape reveals this man as the likely killer of a GC guard earlier this evening at the meeting of the witnesses at Kolak Stadium. He has been identified as an American, Cameron Williams, a former employee of the GC Publishing Division. Williams is reportedly staying with Rabbi Tyson Ben Judah at the home of Israeli Nobel Prize winner Dr. Chaim Rosenzweig. Supreme Commander Leon Fortunato went on to say. Tyson and Buck followed Rosenzweig toward the utility room. As soon as Buck saw where they were headed, he brushed past the old man, flipped on the light, and grabbed a hammer, a shovel, and a concrete block. Do you have a sledgehammer? If you don't see it, I don't have it, James said. We need to hurry. The phone rang. That will be the GC, he said. Jonas, the gateman, spoke over the intercom in Hebrew, but Buck understood Rosenzweig and Fortunato. Have someone bring me the phone, Rosenzweig said. I'm in the back hallway. He turned to Buck and Tyson and gestured that they should lead the way to the access door. When he got the cordless phone, he dismissed the valet and talked as he followed Buck. Of course, he's here, Leon, he said, and sound asleep. Don't even think of invading my household in the middle of the night. You have my word he will be here in the morning. You can question him then. I will even be happy to bring him to you. Oh, Leon, that is patient nonsense, and you know it. He is no more a murder suspect than I am. Your man was shot by one of your own. Have you found a murder weapon, fingerprints? Check the bullets and they will trace to your weapons. I have known Mr. Williams for years and have never seen him with a weapon. I'm warning you, Leon. These are my guests and I will not wake them. Yes, I warned you. You are not my supreme commander. Now you are threatening me. You know my standing in the country, and may I say, with Nikolai, if I tell people you used Gestapo tactics in the middle of the night, crime, you would charge me with a crime for speaking disrespectfully to you? You call me at midnight after midnight and tell me to hold my guest as a murder suspect, and you expect me to respect you? I'll tell you what, Leon, you come personally as at a reasonable hour, and I will make my guests available to you. Well, I promise you, Leon, you send anyone tonight, and I will not answer the door. Buck waved furiously at Chaim to move away so the sound of the banging wouldn't be heard over the phone. Chaim nodded and hurried away, and Buck drove the claw of the hammer behind the top hinge of the heavy door. Chloe showed up with 2 bags and left to get Tyson's. Tyson drove the shovel in and around the doorknob, but neither man was getting far. Step back a second, Tyson, Buck said, and he hefted the concrete block above his head. The weight almost carried him over the backward. He slammed it against the upper half of the door and heard a resounding crack. A couple more shots, he believed, and he'd break through the wood. Rayford was refueling when the call came from Ken. I'm away, he said. Godspeed. He kept an eye on his watch, tempted to call Chloe and keep her on the phone until they were aboard the chopper, but he didn't want to be a distraction. The missing helicopter already had him puzzled, but if that wasn't a clear go message from Mac, he didn't know what was. He couldn't wait to hear what that was all about. Get all the lights off, Buck hollered as he finally smashed through the thick wood. He heard Chaim hurry around flipping switches. Over the intercom, Chaim urgently told his gateman something in Hebrew. What did he say? Chloe said, joining Buck and Tyson at the broken door jamb in the dark. Each had a heavy bag. He told him no one gets in. Everyone's asleep. That won't keep them out long. Let's go, Buck said. I hear a chopper. It's your imagination, Chloe said. I think it's GC in the driveway. You're both paranoid, Tyson said, climbing through the broken door. I got your bag, hon, Buck said. Buck, don't baby me. It's the baby I'm thinking of. Now go. We never said goodbye to Chaim. He'll understand. Go, go. As she stepped through the door, Chaim returned. I'm waiting for word from the gate, he whispered. A GC vehicle just pulled up. Buck reached for him in the darkness and embraced him fiercely. On behalf of all of us. I know, Chaim said. I'm so sorry about all this. Let me know when you are safe. A nervous tingle swept over Rayford's body. After fueling and paying with Ken Ritz's international debit card, Rayford deliberately taxied the Gulfstream away from the ground traffic about 200 yards from where Ken would land the chopper. From where he sat, he would be able to see the helicopter and get next to it as it landed. His phone chirped. Rayford, it's Mac. I'm finally alone. Listen and don't say anything. Leon took it on himself to get my chopper guy out of Hafia and put him in the air. They had some kind of incident near the stadium and didn't want to risk using me because of tomorrow's flight back on the Condor. I thought they'd have it back in time, and when they didn't, And you called. I gave you the go-ahead to use Chopper 1. Yes, that means your guy is in Carpathia's ride. But no one's the wiser if he gets it back quick. I was in a car with Leon, and that's why I sounded so strange. Here's the problem. Leon's got a couple of cars on the way to Rosenzweig's with a trumped-up charge against Buck. I heard him say a video proves it's bogus, but truth never stopped him before. Apparently, the old man is not going to let them in, and they're afraid your people are on the run. Leon's asking for the chopper to light up the neighborhood. If he sees your guy, he's going to think it's me until he asks and finds out it's not. I'm going to do what I can to misdirect, Ray. Short of giving myself away. Just wanted you to know what you're dealing with. I've got another few seconds here if you've got any questions. Thanks, Mac, but you're glad this isn't a wrong number. Has this guy got weapons? 2 armed guys are with him, yes. What's Ken supposed to do if he encounters him? Play cool like he's supposed to be there, but invade as soon as possible. That kid knows I'm not in the air. I'd better get off in case Ken's trying to reach me. We were both right, Chloe whispered as they stepped out into the cool night air. 2 GC vehicles were being stalled outside the gate, and a chopper illuminated the ground with a huge light. Doesn't Ken know where we are? I can't imagine, Buck said, but we can't flag him down without giving ourselves away to those guys. Come on, Ken, right here, man. Suddenly, from right above them, GC Chopper 1 descended, whipping their hair and clothes. Ken opened the door and shouted, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." Buck threw their bags in and helped Chloe climb aboard. He didn't dare peek down to see what kind of attention they were drawing from the guards on the ground. Tyson and Buck leaped aboard. Ken was on the phone. We're not alone, Ray. 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. All right, I'm going. Ken swept up and away, heading north. Tyson, Buck, and Chloe huddled together, holding hands and praying. Buck wondered how long it would be before the ground troops alerted the other helicopter. 3 minutes later, with Ken speeding toward Jerusalem Airport, he found out. From over the radio came an urgent call. GC Chopper 1, this is Chopper 2. Over. Ken hollered on the phone. Don't worry, Ray. I won't answer it. Anyway, I thought we were Chopper 2. Tell me later. I'm on my way. Mac's voice. How can I do that? I only talked to him on the phone once. All right, I'll try. I'm coming fast, so be ready. Chopper 2 to Chopper 1. Do you copy? Go ahead, 2, Ken said, lowering his voice and affecting a southern accent. I didn't know you were airborne, Cap. Roger 2, Ken clicked on the microphone as he spoke. Aye. Excuse me. Bad connection. You over? Repeat, Cap. A frantic voice broke in. McCollum is not in the air. Chopper 2, he's with us. Find out who that is. Chopper 2 to Chopper 1, identify yourself. Over. Ken hesitated. Identify Chopper 1 or risk a charge of air piracy. This is Chopper 1. Go ahead. Identify yourself, pilot. Bad connection. Come back. The Chopper 2 pilot swore. Demand immediate descent and surrender, 1. En route to Tel Aviv, 2. See you there. Negative. Put down at Jerusalem Airport and stay aboard. Negative yourself, 2. See you at Ben Gurion. Chopper 2 put out a call of assistance to all aircraft in the sector. Now what? Buck said. Lights off and stay low, Ken said. Not too low. High enough to clear power lines, Ken said. Low enough to stay under radar. We gonna be all right? Depends on where he was when he first called. If he was still in Chaim's neighborhood, we got a pretty good lead on him. I doubt he'll stay this low or go this fast. No way he's dumb enough to believe we're going to Ben Gurion. Somebody's bound to spot us, and then he'll chase us to the airstrip. No time for restroom stops or seat changes at the airport, if that's what you're asking. Rayford sat near the runway, listening to the radio traffic and resisting the urge to coach Ken. If he didn't know enough to stay low and push the chopper's limits, nothing Rayford could say would help. The radio came to life again with a report from small fixed-wing plane that had sighted the low-flying GC chopper with its lights off. Chopper 2 is in pursuit. Chopper 1, you are breaking international aviation law by running without lights, high speeds at low altitude, and hijacking of government aircraft. Proceed directly to Jerusalem Airport and remain on board or suffer the consequences. Airport personnel swept into action. Emergency vehicles cruising the runways. Attention, please. Jerusalem Airport is temporarily closed due to an emergency. Be advised, all landing sequences and takeoffs are suspended until further notice. Cessna X-Ray Bravo, you copy? Roger. Piper 2 Niner Charlie Alpha, Roger. Gulfstream Alpha Tango, Roger. Rayford said, but he did not shut down. He hoped Ken would understand why he was waiting at the wrong end of the runway. This would be a takeoff without clearance and in the wrong direction. And here came the chopper. Ken wouldn't have time to talk on the phone, and the radio was not an option. Rayford checked his gauges. He was ready. Ken started to put down at the original spot. Gulfstream up there, Buck shouted. And you've got security coming on the ground? Ken hopped the aircraft back up and sat down near Rayford. The door of the Gulfstream hung open. Buck, Chloe, and Tyson set themselves to jump out of the chopper. Hold tight a second, Ken shouted. They see us board the Gulf now, they can block him easy. I'm going to have to play cat and mouse with them, make them think Ray's not involved. As security vehicles approached, Ken leapfrogged them, hovering just above where he first sat down, 200 yards from the Gulfstream. Put down right there, Chopper 1, came the voice from Chopper 2 on the radio, and do not disembark. Repeat, do not disembark. Ken put down, but kept the blades whirling as the ground vehicles headed his way. Shut it down, 1, the radio blared. Buck and the others saw Chopper 2 descending from Rayford's end of the field, right toward them. Stay out of sight and forget your bags, people, Ken said. If I get you close, you're going to make a run for the Gulf. We're still going to try to do this, Chloe said. It's hopeless. It's never hopeless as long as I'm breathing, Ken said. Rayford stared out the cockpit windshield of the Gulfstream, imagining that any second Ken and all that was left of his own family would be surrounded by armed GC guards. They would never expose him, but dare he just sit and wait to leave when the airport reopened. His body boiled with frustration, wanting to do something, anything. Ken was a creative, resourceful, smart guy, and it did appear he still had those blades spinning. What was he going to do? Let Chopper 2 chase him some more? There was no hope in that. Shut it down, 1, the command came again. You are surrounded with no possible escape. Chopper 2 was within 30 feet of Ken, also on the ground now, with blades engaged. Rayford watched amazed as Ken went straight up about 100 feet, then pointed the nose of the chopper at the Gulfstream and seemed to fall right in front of it. It hit the tarmac at such an angle that it slid 50 feet and spun to a top next to the open door. Let's go, kids, Ken shouted. Right now. He smacked the door open with a running back like stiff arm and grabbed Buck, tugging him past the front seat and out. Buck waited on the ground and caught Tyson as Ken handed him off. Tyson charged up the steps of the Gulfstream and stood ready to shut the door. Buck was grateful Ken took a little more time with Chloe. Go all the way in, he said. Tyson's got the door. Rayford watched in horror as GC vehicles raced his way yet again. He had to get airborne. Betting ground control could not see people boarding his plane. He got on the radio. Golf Alpha Tango to ground control, requesting permission to get out of the way of this activity. Roger, Golf, just stay out of the way of security vehicles. Rayford started rolling, though he knew only 2 had boarded. The Gulfstream screamed and whined as he slowly moved forward, edging past Chopper 1, his door dragging on the pavement and throwing sparks. He couldn't leave the ground until everyone was aboard. Then he had to pressurize the cabin before getting too high. Buck's brain went into slow motion and a kaleidoscope of images raced through his mind. In what seemed the next millisecond, he remembered taking a bullet to his heel in Egypt while diving with Tyson aboard a Learjet piloted by Ken. Now, while whirling to grab the door as the Gulfstream edged by, he saw clearly through the struts of the chopper that GC men sprinted toward them, taking aim. Buck screamed, Ken, go, 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 as Ritz caught up to him. Buck pumped his legs as fast as he could, and Ken lopped right behind with those long limbs. The Gulfstream picked up stream, and Buck felt the pull of the power on his body. He glanced back at Ken, whose face was inches from him, desperate determination in his eyes. Buck was about to leap up the steps when Ken's forehead opened. Buck felt the heat and smelled the metal as the killing bullet sliced his own ear on the way by, and his face was splashed by Ken's gore. The big man's eyes were widened and vacant as he dropped out of sight. Buck was yanked along, sobbing and screaming. His arm caught in the wire that supported the open door. He went to jump off to run back to Ken to kill someone, but he was unarmed, and Ken had to have been dead before he hit the ground. In spite of himself, despite his grief and horror and anger, Buck's instincts turned to his own survival. The Gulfstream was now speeding along too fast for Buck's legs to keep up. Tyson leaned out as far as he could, straining with all his might to pull the door up and Buck with it, but the more he pulled, the more entangled Buck became. Chloe was helping now, crying and screaming herself, and Buck worried about the baby. He lifted his feet to keep from scraping the leather off his shoes and burning his feet. The Gulfstream was at takeoff speed. The door stuck open. Buck pinned in the support, and he knew Rayford had no choice but to throttle up. Buck tried to swing forward and catch a foot on the step, but the momentum and the wind made him unable to move. He was nearly horizontal now, and the vibration in the aluminum skin of the plane changed when the wheels left the ground. He squinted against the wind and grit that stung his eyes, and he could see Rayford would be lucky to clear the 10-foot fence in the grass at the wrong end of the runway. The plane lumbered over the fence, and Buck felt as if he could have lowered a toe and brushed it. One thing was sure, he was not going to get into that plane now that it was in the air. The door would have to be shut mechanically. He could wait for that to sever his arm and fall to his death, or he could take his chances in the underbrush on the far side of the fence. Buck pulled and twisted and jerked until his elbow cleared the wire. The horrified faces of his wife and his pastor were the last images he saw before he felt himself fall, cartwheeling, hitting the tops of tall brushes, and lodging himself scraped and torn, bleeding, in the middle of a huge thicket. His body shuddered uncontrollably, and he worried about going into shock. Then he heard the Gulfstream turn, and he knew Chloe would never let her father leave without him. But if they came back, if they landed to look for him, they were all as good as dead. Ken was already gone. That was enough for one night. Painfully, he wrenched himself free and knew his injuries would require attention. No bones seemed broken as he stood, shivering on the cool of the night. He felt the bulge in his pocket. Was it possible? Had his phone survived? He didn't dare hope as he flipped it open. The dial lit up. He hit Rayford's number. "Mac," he heard, "we got a mess and we need help." "No," Buck barked, his voice raw. "It's me, and I'm all right. Go on, and I'll hook up with you later." Rayford wondered if he was dreaming. He was certain he had killed his own son-in-law. "Are you sure, Buck?" he shouted. Chloe, who had collapsed in despair, now grabbed the phone out of Rayford's hand. Buck, where are you?" "Past the fence and some nasty underbrush. I don't think they saw me, Chloe. Nobody's coming this way. If they saw me running for the plane, they have to think I made it aboard." "How did you survive?" "I have no idea." "Are you all right?" "Am I all right? Of course. 10 seconds ago I was a widow. Is Ken with you?" "No." "Oh no, they got him." "He's gone, Chloe." And that's the end of chapter 12. Next we'll be reading chapter 13. And thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day.